The Zephyrian fleet hung in space like a collection of deadly jewels, their crystalline hulls catching the light from Terra's sun and throwing it back in sharp, mocking reflections. Admiral Kethver stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Sovereign's Pride, watching the blue marble of Earth turn slowly below. His four arms were crossed behind his back in the traditional stance of Zephyrian nobility, while his scaled hide shimmered with the purple hues that marked his royal bloodline. "Pitiful," he said, his voice carrying the harmonic undertones that made Zephyrian speech sound like music to some species. To humans, it sounded like nails on glass. "Look at this backward world. No orbital defenses worth mentioning. No energy shields. Their ships are still using chemical rockets and nuclear fusion. How did such primitives ever think they could join the Galactic Council?" Sub-Commander Uethel, Kethver's younger brother, moved up beside him. His hide bore the same royal purple, though slightly dimmer, marking him as second in line to the throne of Zephyr Prime. "Intelligence reports suggest they have some ground-based weapons, brother. Primitive kinetic weapons they call railguns and some nuclear missiles." Kethver's laugh was like breaking crystal. "Nuclear weapons. How quaint. We used those toys 3,000 years ago, before we learned to split atoms with our minds. These humans are not even worth the plasma it would take to glass their cities." The bridge crew of the Sovereign's Pride joined in their admiral's laughter. The Zephyrians had built an empire spanning 12 star systems through superior technology and an unshakable belief in their own superiority. They had encountered dozens of species in their expansion, and all had either submitted or been destroyed. The humans would be no different. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Zethram from his station, "we're receiving a transmission from the human homeworld. They're requesting dialogue." "Put it on screen," Kethver ordered, settling into his command throne with obvious amusement. The main viewer shimmered, then resolved into the image of a human military officer sitting at what appeared to be a desk made of metal and wood. The creature was wearing a uniform of blue and gold, with small metal decorations pinned to his chest. His hair was gray, and his face was lined with age. "I am General Marcus Chun, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United Earth Defense Force," the human said in heavily accented Galactic Standard. "I'm addressing Admiral Kethver of the Zephyrian Royal Fleet." "Speak, primitive," Kethver replied, not bothering to hide his contempt. "Though I cannot imagine what you could possibly say that would interest me." General Chun's jaw tightened slightly, but his voice remained steady. "We know why you're here, Admiral. The Galactic Council voted to grant Earth provisional membership and your Empire objects. But we're not the same species you conquered in the Rigel system, or the defenseless colonies you destroyed in the Vega sector. We're offering you one chance to withdraw your forces and depart our system peacefully." The Zephyrian bridge crew erupted in laughter again. Sub-Commander Yethal was holding his sides, his harmonic voice creating an almost musical cacophony of amusement. "You're offering us a chance?" Kethver managed between his own laughs. "Human, do you have any idea who you're speaking to?" "I am Admiral Kethver, First Prince of the Zephyrian Royal House, heir to the Sapphire Throne, conqueror of 47 worlds. My fleet has enough firepower to reduce your little planet to cosmic dust. And you're offering me terms?" "I'm offering you common sense," Chun replied. "You may have superior technology, but you don't know humans. We don't surrender, we don't retreat, and we don't forgive. Threats? From a species that hasn't even left their own star system?" Kethver leaned forward, his four eyes glowing with predatory amusement. "Tell me, General Chun, what exactly do you think your primitive weapons could do against shields powered by stellar energy? What could your crude kinetic projectiles accomplish against hulls forged from collapsed matter?" "I guess we'll find out," Chun said quietly. "Indeed we will. You have 24 of your hours to surrender unconditionally. Every government on your world will submit to Zephyrian rule. Your military will disband, and your people will serve the Empire as laborers. Refuse, and we will demonstrate why 47 worlds chose submission over destruction." "And if we accept?" Chun asked. "Then you get to live as slaves instead of dying as fools. Either way, your independence ends today." Chun was quiet for a long moment, his eyes studying Keffer's face. Finally, he spoke. Admiral, there's something you should know about humans. We have a saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. We also have a military tradition. When someone threatens our families, our freedom, and our way of life, we don't just fight back, we finish the job. Empty words from a dying species, Keffer replied. 24 hours, General. Use them wisely. He cut the transmission and turned to his brother. Begin positioning the fleet for orbital bombardment. Target their major population centers first. Once they see a few million of their kind vaporized, the rest will beg for mercy. What about their military installations? Yathal asked. What about them? Their weapons can't even reach us at this altitude. Let them fire their little rockets and railguns. It will be entertaining to watch them try. But even as Keffer gave his orders, he couldn't shake the look in General Chin's eyes. It wasn't fear or desperation, it was something else entirely. Something cold and calculating that reminded him, uncomfortably, of the expression he'd seen on the faces of Zephyrian nobles just before they struck at their enemies. He dismissed the thought. Humans were primitives. They would break like all the others, on the surface of Earth, in a bunker buried 3 miles beneath the Colorado Rockies. General Chun ended the transmission and turned to the group of officers seated around the conference table. The room was thick with tension and cigarette smoke. Well? He asked. Thoughts? They're not taking us seriously, said General Sarah Mitchell, head of Earth Space Command. They think we're just another species of primitives they can push around. Which is exactly what we want them to think, Chun replied. Colonel Rodriguez, status report on Operation Prometheus. Colonel Elena Rodriguez, a compact woman with steel-gray hair and scars on her hands from a lifetime of military service, consulted her tablet. All teams are in position, sir. The delivery systems were deployed 6 months ago when we first detected their scout ships. They're just waiting for the activation signal. And our Marine? Chun asked quietly. Staff Sergeant Jake Morrison, Force Reconnaissance, Rodriguez replied. 32 years old, decorated veteran of the Martian colony conflicts. Expert in infiltration, demolitions, and close-quarters combat. Psychological profile shows exceptional stress tolerance and adaptive thinking. He's exactly what we need for this mission. The man's a legend, added General Mitchell. Single-handedly held off 3,000 Martian separatists for 6 hours during the Battle of New Angeles. Received the Medal of Honor and refused a commission 3 times because he likes being close to the action. Chun nodded slowly. And he understands what we're asking him to do? He volunteered, sir, Rodriguez said. When we explained the mission parameters, he said, and I quote, Sir, when do I get started? Good, because what we're planning? It's not just war, it's personal. They want to treat us like animals? Fine, but they're going to learn that some animals bite back. He stood and walked to the wall display showing the current positions of the Zephyrian fleet. 47 massive warships hung in perfect formation, their weapons trained on Earth's major cities. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a continent. The Zephyrians have made one critical error in their calculations, Chun said, his voice carrying across the room. They assume that because we don't have their technology, we don't have their intelligence. They're looking down at us from orbit, seeing primitive chemical rockets and nuclear weapons, and they think that's all we have. He touched a control, and the display zoomed in on the flagship, Sovereign's Pride. What they don't see is that. We've been studying their technology for 2 years, ever since their first scout ship crashed in the Australian outback. What they don't know is that we reverse-engineered their communication systems, their shield frequencies, and most importantly, their internal ship layouts. The display shifted, showing detailed schematics of the Zephyrian flagship's interior. Every corridor, every room, every security checkpoint was mapped in precise detail. What they definitely don't know, Chun continued, is that we've been inserting teams into their fleet for the past 6 months using technology we developed from their own crashed vessels. Invisibility fields, matter transporters, the whole works. We may not be able to match their firepower, but we can match their stealth technology. How many teams? Asked General Mitchell. 47, 1 per ship, all volunteers. All prepared to complete the mission regardless of personal cost. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what Chun was saying. This wasn't just a military operation. It was a suicide mission on an unprecedented scale. He turned back to face the row. Staff Sergeant Jake Morrison moved through the crystalline corridors of the Sovereign's Pride like a ghost made flesh. His enhanced stealth suit, reverse-engineered from captured Zephyrian technology and improved with human ingenuity, bent light around his form while dampening his heat signature and sound. To any Zephyrian sensor, he simply didn't exist. The layout of the ship was burned into his memory from months of studying captured intelligence. Royal quarters were located in the secure section of Deck 7, protected by multiple layers of security fields and automated defenses. Getting there undetected would require precision, timing, and more than a little luck. Morrison had never been a lucky man. But he'd never needed luck before, and he wasn't about to start depending on it now. He pressed himself against the wall as a patrol of Zephyrian guards rushed past, their crystalline armor chiming softly as they moved. They were heading toward the lower decks, where explosions and alarms indicated that other Marine infiltrators were causing maximum chaos. Morrison allowed himself a grim smile. His fellow Marines were doing their jobs perfectly. Drawing security away from the royal quarters, the first checkpoint appeared ahead, a security barrier that required biometric identification from any Zephyrian attempting to pass. Morrison reached into his pack and withdrew a small device that looked like a metallic spider. The bioscanner, another piece of reverse-engineered technology, had been programmed with genetic signatures from captured Zephyrian prisoners. He placed the device against the security panel and waited. 10 seconds later, the barrier shimmered and vanished. Morrison retrieved the scanner and continued deeper into the ship. Behind him, on the bridge, Admiral Kethver was experiencing the worst nightmare of his military career. Reports flooded in from across the fleet. Humans had somehow penetrated every single ship simultaneously. His vessels were being destroyed from within by enemies who shouldn't have been able to get within 1,000 kilometers of his fleet. How are they doing this? Kethver roared at his bridge crew. How did primitives infiltrate advanced Zephyrian warships? Unknown, sir, replied his sensor operator, his harmonic voice cracking with stress. Our internal security systems show no intruders, but we're definitely under attack. The Royal Defiance has lost main power, reported communications. The Emperor's Wrath is reporting massive explosions in their engineering section. The Stellar Dominance has gone completely dark. Sub-Commander Yeothel moved to his brother's side, his purple scales pale with fear. Brother, we should evacuate to the command bunker. If these humans can penetrate our ships, nowhere on board is safe. Evacuate? Kethver's 4 eyes blazed with fury. I am Admiral Kethver, First Prince of Zephyr Prime. I do not run from primitives. But even as he spoke, a part of his mind was calculating distances to escape pods and the quickest route to the shuttle bay. His ancestors had not built the Zephyrian Empire by ignoring tactical reality. And the tactical reality was that his fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy he had underestimated on General Chun's transmission. Still being broadcast to every ship in the Zephyrian fleet? The human commander was watching the destruction with cold satisfaction. You're wondering how we did it, aren't you, Admiral? Chun's voice carried across the bridge. How a species you dismissed as primitive managed to turn your own technology against you. Tell me, Kethver demanded, his pride warring with his growing desperation. It's simple, really. You assume that because we didn't have advanced technology we couldn't understand it. But humans have one advantage your species has never learned to appreciate. We adapt. When we encountered your crashed scout ships, we didn't just reverse engineer the technology. We improved it. The tactical display showed the continuing destruction of the Zephyrian fleet. Ship after ship was going dark as human marines completed their missions. Your stealth fields are impressive, Chun continued, but they have a fatal flaw. They're designed to hide from Zephyrian sensors, not human ones. Your shields are powerful, but they're calibrated to stop Zephyrian weapons, not modified human explosives. Your security systems are sophisticated, but they're programmed to recognize Zephyrian genetic patterns. They never considered the possibility that someone might synthesize those patterns? Kethver felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career: complete helplessness. His superior technology, his overwhelming firepower, his unshakable confidence in Zephyrian superiority, all of it was useless against an enemy that had turned his own advantages into weaknesses. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Justice," Chun replied simply. "You came here to destroy our world, to enslave our people, to treat us like animals. You laughed at our offer of peaceful withdrawal. You threatened to glass our cities and reduce our planet to cosmic dust. Did you really think we would just accept that?" Deep within the sovereign's pride, Morrison had reached the royal quarters. The corridor leading to Admiral Kethver's private chambers was empty, all security personnel having been recalled to deal with the chaos erupting throughout the ship. Morrison approached the ornate door marked with Zephyrian royal symbols and paused to check his equipment. His modified plasma rifle was charged and ready. His explosive charges were primed. His escape route was planned and memorized. Everything was proceeding according to mission parameters. Then he heard voices coming from inside the royal chambers. "Brother, we must evacuate immediately," came a harmonic voice that Morrison recognized as Sub-Commander Yethel from the intelligence briefings. "The humans have somehow penetrated our defenses. If we remain here, we will be trapped." "You would have me run from primitives?" This was Admiral Kethver, his voice filled with rage and disbelief. "The royal line of Zephyr Prime does not flee from inferior species." "The royal line will not survive if we remain," Yethel insisted. "Our ships are being destroyed. Our crews are dying. These humans are not what we believe them to be." Morrison smiled grimly and activated his suit's recording functions. Intelligence would want to hear this conversation. How could we have been so wrong? Kethver continued. "Our intelligence reports, our technological assessments, our military analysis, all of it was flawed." "Not flawed." "Brother, incomplete. We assumed that a species without advanced technology was inherently inferior. We never considered that they might be more dangerous because of their primitiveness." "Not despite it. Explain." Morrison could hear movement inside the chamber as the two Zephyrians paced back and forth. "Advanced species become dependent on their technology," Yethel said. "We rely on our computers to make tactical decisions, our sensors to detect threats, our automated systems to handle ship functions. But these humans, they think like warriors, not technicians. They see weaknesses where we see only strengths." "The crashed ships?" Kethver said suddenly. "The missing patrols. They weren't random losses, were they? No, the humans were hunting us, learning from us, preparing for this moment. While we were planning to conquer them, they were planning to destroy us." Morrison had heard enough. He stepped back from the door and placed his first explosive charge against the wall. The device would create a precise breach that would allow him to enter the chamber quickly while stunning anyone inside. He armed the charge and moved to the side. The explosion was small but effective, blowing a human-sized hole through the crystalline wall. Morrison dove through the breach, his rifle ready, expecting to find the two Zephyrian princes preparing for a fight. Instead, he found them kneeling on the floor in what appeared to be a position of prayer or meditation. Their weapons had been placed on an ornate table in the center of the room, and their hands were empty. "You are the human warrior," Admiral Kethver said without looking up. "The one sent to eliminate the royal line." Morrison kept his rifle trained on both aliens but didn't fire. "Stand up, slowly." The two Zephyrians rose to their feet with fluid grace, their forearms spread wide to show they held no weapons. Up close, Morrison could see that their purple scales were marked with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and move in the light. "I am Admiral Kethver, First Prince of Zephyr Prime," the taller alien said. "This is my brother, Sub-Commander Yethal, Second Prince and heir to the Sapphire Throne." "I know who you are," Morrison replied. "The question is, do you know why I'm here?" "To end the royal bloodline," Yethal said quietly. "To ensure that the Zephyrian Empire can never again threaten your people." Morrison studied both aliens carefully. They didn't seem afraid, exactly, But there was something in their posture that suggested acceptance, perhaps even resignation. Your plan is strategically sound, Kethver continued. By eliminating the royal line, you create a succession crisis that will tear the empire apart. Without central leadership, our various noble houses will turn on each other rather than continue this war. You seem awfully calm for someone who's about to die, Morrison observed. We are warriors, human. We understand the reality of warfare. We came here to conquer your people, and instead you have conquered us. The shame is ours, not yours. Morrison's finger tightened on the trigger, but something made him hesitate. Why aren't you fighting? Why aren't you trying to escape or calling for help? Staff Sergeant Jake Morrison stood in the crystalline chamber aboard the Sovereign's Pride, his modified plasma rifle still trained on the two most important prisoners in human history. Outside the shattered wall, the sounds of fighting had ceased, replaced by the steady hum of ship systems and the distant chatter of radio communications as the remaining Zephyrian fleet powered down their weapons. Mongoose. This is actual, General Chun's voice crackled through Morrison's radio. The High Council is requesting immediate video conference with their royal family. They want proof of life before they finalize surrender terms. Morrison looked at Admiral Kethver and Sub-Commander Uthal, both standing calmly beside the ornate table where they had placed their ceremonial weapons. Neither had attempted to escape or call for help, despite having multiple opportunities during the extended radio transmissions. Tell them their princes are alive and unharmed, Morrison replied. But the communication stays on my terms. They can talk, but they do it with my weapon pointed at them. Understood, Mongoose. Establishing connection now. The air in front of Morrison shimmered, and a holographic display materialized showing what appeared to be a massive chamber filled with dozens of Zephyrian nobles. Their scales ranged from deep purple to brilliant gold, indicating various levels of rank and bloodline. At the center of the group sat an elderly Zephyrian whose scales were so dark they were almost black, marked with intricate silver patterns that seemed to move and shift as Morrison watched. I am High Commander Zethmar, the elderly alien said, his harmonic voice carrying through the ship's communication system. Acting ruler of the Zephyrian Empire in the absence of the royal family. Cousin, Admiral Kethver said, inclining his head respectfully. I greet you from the human warship where we are held prisoner. Not prisoners, Morrison corrected. Guests under armed guard. There's a difference. High Commander Zethmar's four eyes focused on Morrison with obvious interest. You are the human warrior who infiltrated our flagship and captured our royal family. I am the Marine who completed his mission, Morrison replied. The question is, what happens next? That depends on many factors, warrior. The High Council has reviewed the military situation and we find ourselves in unusual circumstances. How so? Sub-Commander Yethal asked. In 3 hours, the humans have accomplished what no species has managed in 3,000 years of Zephyrian expansion. They have defeated our fleet without engaging in a single ship-to-ship battle. They have captured our technology without fighting a single pitched engagement. They have proven themselves superior to us in every tactical category that matters. Morrison could see other Zephyrian nobles in the background of the transmission nodding their agreement. Whatever debate had taken place on their homeworld, it appeared to have reached a definitive conclusion. More than that, High Commander Zethmar continued. They have done so while following what they call rules of warfare, treating our captured crews with dignity, offering mercy to surrendering forces, and refraining from attacking civilian populations. They have shown us honor we would not have shown them. We came here to conquer and enslave, Admiral Kethver said quietly. They defended their world with strategic brilliance and tactical excellence. The shame is ours, cousin. Indeed. Which brings us to the current situation. High Commander Zethmar leaned forward in his chair. Human warrior, what are your people's terms for peace? Morrison activated his radio. Actual, this is Mongoose. They want to hear terms directly. Patch me through, Mongoose. General Chun's image appeared beside the Zephyrian High Council display. Even through the holographic projection, Morrison could see that the general was exhausted. The past 3 hours had clearly taken a toll on the human leadership. High Commander Zethmer, Chun said formally. I am General Marcus Chun, speaking on behalf of the United Earth Defense Force and the Provisional Government of Earth. General Chun, we meet again under different circumstances. Indeed. Your fleet came here to destroy our world and enslave our people. Instead, you've learned that humans don't make good victims. Chin's voice was steady, but Morrison could hear the steel underneath. Our terms are simple: complete withdrawal from human space, recognition of Earth sovereignty, and payment of war reparations for the resources we expended defending ourselves. Those terms are acceptable, High Commander Zethmer said after a moment's pause. But we have additional requests, such as? We wish to establish formal diplomatic relations with your species. We wish to offer you membership in the Galactic Council, not as a junior partner, but as an equal member with full voting rights. And we wish to propose a mutual defense treaty between our peoples. Morrison saw General Chun's eyebrows rise in surprise. That's quite a change from your original position. Your species has taught us several important lessons today, General. First, that technological superiority means nothing without tactical intelligence. Second, that underestimating an enemy based on their apparent primitiveness is a fatal mistake. And third, that a species capable of what you have accomplished today would make far better allies than enemies. Admiral Kethver stepped forward. General Chun, if I may speak? Chun nodded. Go ahead. 3 hours ago, I commanded a fleet of 47 warships. One possessed overwhelming technological superiority, vast military experience, and absolute confidence in Zephyrian supremacy. I looked at your world and saw nothing but a collection of primitives who would beg for mercy. Within hours of my arrival, the Zephyrian admiral moved to the window overlooking Earth. I was wrong about everything. Your people didn't beg for mercy. They didn't surrender when faced with impossible odds. Instead, they turned my own advantages into weaknesses and my own pride into a blindness that nearly cost me my life and my throne. Morrison watched the alien's reflection in the crystalline window as he spoke. But more than that, Kethver continued, your people showed mercy when they had no obligation to do so. Your warrior here could have executed my brother and me the moment he entered this chamber. Instead, he listened to our surrender, respected our dignity, and allowed us to communicate with our people. That kind of honor. We had forgotten what it looked like. Pretty words, Morrison said, but words are cheap. What guarantees do we have that your people won't come back in 10 years with a bigger fleet and try again? High Commander Zethmer answered. Warrior, in 3,000 years of expansion, the Zephyrian Empire has never encountered a species that could match our military capabilities. Today, we encountered a species that exceeded them. Do you believe we are foolish enough to repeat that mistake? People do foolish things all the time. True, but the Zephyrian High Council is composed of individuals who have survived the complex politics of an interstellar empire for centuries. We understand the difference between courage and stupidity. Attacking humanity again would be stupidity of the highest order. Sub-Commander Yethel joined his brother at the window. There is another factor, human warrior. Our defeat today will become legendary throughout the galaxy. Every species will hear how the mighty Zephyrian fleet was destroyed by humans using our own technology against us. Our reputation for invincibility is gone forever. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Morrison asked. For our empire? It is a disaster that will take generations to overcome. For the galaxy? It is the best thing that could have happened. Morrison frowned. Explain. The Zephyrian Empire expanded through intimidation as much as military conquest, Admiral Kethver said. Species surrendered to us because they believed resistance was hopeless. Now they know that the Zephyrians can be defeated. They know that superior technology is not a guarantee of victory. They know that determination and intelligence can triumph over overwhelming force. You're worried about rebellions. We are preparing for them. Within months, possibly weeks, several of our subject worlds will declare independence. Some of our own noble houses may attempt to break away and form their own kingdoms. The unity that held our empire together was based on fear and respect for our military power. Both are gone now. General Chun's image leaned forward. And you want us to help you hold your empire together? No, High Commander Zethmar said firmly. We want you to help us transform it into something better. An alliance of equals instead of a hierarchy of conquerors and victims. Morrison listened to the diplomatic discussion with growing amazement. 3 hours ago, he had materialized aboard an enemy warship with orders to eliminate the royal family and break the Zephyrian Empire's ability to make war. Now those same royals were negotiating the peaceful transformation of their entire civilization. This is Mongoose, he said into his radio. Are you buying any of this? Mongoose, I've been watching their fleet disposition for the past hour. They've powered down all weapon systems, opened their airlocks to allow our inspection teams aboard, and transmitted all their military codes to our command staff. Either this is the most elaborate deception in galactic history, or they're genuinely offering surrender. Morrison looked at the two Zephyrian princes standing calmly beside the